I'm an addict. My name's Bill.
Bill.
I want to ask you a little bit. I get so loud and sometimes spitting and all, and secretaries usually have a hell of a problem when I'm chairing a meeting. And sometimes I just ask them if they'll just get out of the way for a minute, because I can get so excited when I'm talking about the freedom I've been given through Narcotics Anonymous that sometimes I just like assault secretaries next to me. And I always ask them if they'll maybe get out of the way. Secretary had said to me, she said, "What's going to get loud over there?" I said, "It's going to get loud here too."
Come on.
And it just is, because that's just the way I carry it. I think first and foremost, I want to just say I love you, Karen, to my wife. I'm going to mail this tape to her, and she's in a federal prison as we sit here tonight. And I know right now, at this very time, because she knew what time I was going to be chairing the meeting and all, she's probably just sitting there like in prayer or just hoping that everything's okay, and that I'm able to stand here and not be nervous or just carry a message of hope. She's for me, you know. And I want to say I love you, Karen, and ask everyone if they'll help me.
We love you, Karen.
Thank you. And if that's all I ever get out of this tape, that's just great, because she needs a shot of hope. It's like July of '98 is when she's getting out, and she had 2.5 years clean, and she had all this, the kind of love and the kind of just things that go on in NA when she had to go to prison from the wreckage of her past. And it's been a real hard bit. It's her first time she's ever been incarcerated. She never even had a traffic ticket. She had 2.5 years of loving, caring involvement in NA, and it was like, whap. And so she's really doing a hard bit, but thank God she continued to do what Narcotics Anonymous taught her to do, and she started a meeting. And thank God the World Convention, for the first time in the history of NA, was pumped into that little prison, and the main speaker was speaking from the convention in Baltimore to women in prison. And what a better place for the message to go from the World Convention into a little jail, with all the glitz and glitter of the World Convention, the boat rides and all the excitement, and the OJs or whoever was there for entertainment. Narcotics Anonymous still found the importance of pumping the main message into some people who couldn't get out. And we just are real grateful that somehow God used that situation to bring that about. You know, we feel really privileged and just grateful to Narcotics Anonymous that we were able to work with the committees and get that to happen. And anyway, I just want to let my wife know I love her. You know, this convention here is like there's other things going on. And as I was walking downstairs, I just didn't know who was who a lot of the times. You know, I had seen people in the bar, and I'm just, you know, not knowing whether to hug or talk to somebody. I just, you know, was a little skeptical. And it brought up something from my past that my wife knows very well, and I've only shared it probably twice in the 5 years that I've been clean. Because it always makes me feel like stupid, you know. But I was ignorant, and I know the difference between stupid and ignorant today. I just didn't know. And that is, when I had about 13 days clean, I was in Baltimore City, and a guy from the program gave me a couple days' work, and I was living in the Salvation Army. I was a homeless bum. That's where I had ended up from my using. And a guy in the program gave me a few days' work with him. And so I'm working with him in this one building, and he decides to go over to the bank in downtown Baltimore. So I got in the van with him, went over to the bank, and I'm sitting outside while he's in there taking care of his business and all, and I'm playing all these NA tapes that have been happening the last 13 days, and this hugging stuff, and the cliches, and all these things are running through my head, and I'm just trying to get the courage up that when I come to a meeting now, for me to be the one to say hi and give you a hug. Because I was so scared and I was so self-centered, and I just did not feel right about anything. You people were smiling, and I was like, you know, but I kept wanting to challenge myself to do that. When I seen you to say hi, Bill, and give you a hug, what you guys was doing to me. So I'd heard all these cliches and all, and I'm just soaking it in. And I was sitting in that van outside the bank when the guy was in there, and he's been in the fellowship for several years. And like I said, I heard all these cliches. So I see a van pull up and he's parking in front of me. And I see this bumper sticker, KISS. And I'd heard some things in the rooms about keep it simple, stupid. And that was one of the so-called bumper stickers or whatever they had for the show that guy's in recovery. Not knowing anything about anonymity or whether to do this on a job, run up to somebody in a business suit, say, hey, remember me from the meeting? I mean, I didn't know anything about that. So the guy's backing in, and I'm pumping myself up, boy, to just, go ahead, man, go out there and just like, hi, I'm Bill, and see if he'd hug me and all, you know, and I just kept doing all this. So sure enough, when he gets up, I finally get the courage, and I get out of the van, and I walk around in his van, and he's still backing in, and he's looking at me like real strange, because I'm right by the door, you know, and I'm looking rough at this point in time. I was 90 pounds lighter, and I was just like really still ill looking from the using, and I'm just standing by the window waiting for him to get out, right? And he says, I could see him leery, and I'm wondering, well, damn, what's up? I mean, you know. So finally, he winds the window down. And I said, hi, how you doing? My name's Bill. I'm from the program. And he says, yeah, all right. And he's reaching over, getting his kid. He's got his kid in there, getting his kid all straightened out. And I said, yeah. I said, I'll wait for you to park. That's all right. You know, so I get back, and I'm figuring maybe he's a little leery like I am. He don't know how to be approached. And so he finally gets out of the vehicle, you know, and I just like blurted at him and said, hi, and I give him a big hug, right? He's like pushing me back away from him, man. He's trying to get back in the door. I think he's reaching for mace, right? He don't know what's going on. Like, here's my wallet. And I said, I'm from the fellowship. I said, don't we hug? And like, he said, what fellowship? What are you talking about? I said, you got the bumper sticker? And he said, what bumper sticker? And I said, back here. So he walks back and he says, what, kids in safety seats? What's that got to do with a fellowship? I said, no, keep it simple, stupid. He said, fella, I don't know what your problem is. And I don't know what it, and he grabs his kid and just gets away from me. That's a true story that happened to me in downtown Baltimore. And so down here, when these people are walking around, I'm looking for badges, and I don't know if I should approach somebody or not. You know, I'm just feeling real leery. But like I said, sometimes it makes me feel real stupid to say something like that, you know. But I just wanted to be a part of, and I wanted to face the fears. You know, I wanted to let the miracle happen, like this topic that I've been given. And how I let the miracle happen was basically showed up and listened and did what I had to do. I was whipped. You know, I was done. All they had to do was stick a fork in me. I was done, man. I was finished. I was through. And when I had got here, I had made all the mistakes that anybody can make trying to use successfully. And so when I heard the things that I heard, it fit right in with me looking at my experiences. And when they said alcohol is a drug, all I said was, God, it wasn't no controversy, wasn't no problem whatsoever. I just said, yeah. Because I know what my substitutions were throughout the times that I tried to just, if I could just get off of this heroin, I'd be all right. I'll just drink, smoke pot, and chase the women. And that was my best thinking. And, of course, I was back to the dope man's house, drunk as a monkey, trying to get my drug of choice at 2 o'clock in the morning. So when you said, you know, alcohol's a drug, I said, okay. And when you said one's too many, 1,000's never enough, I said, yeah, right. Because I had that one lie for so long and tried to just somehow I went to 3. You know, it's like, well, it's not 1, but 3. You can do 3. and I lived that lie long enough with empty pockets and a miserable desire for the next blast and no money left and nothing to steal anymore and all that. So when I got here, man, I was just right. I had the desire born of pain. You know, born entirely of pain and failure. So I was ready, man. I was ready to, like, join the ranks of what you people seem to have, you know, a way of life. And I looked for that way of life in this program. When I let the miracle happen, that in this topic it talks about letting it happen as if that's like a conditional word, let. It's like the miracle just ain't going to jump and happen. I have to like agree to let it happen, so it required something from me. And the only thing that I believe it required from me was those three simple things they talk about around here that I almost feel like it's so cliche-ish and it's so basic. And where's the profound stuff? It's nowhere. It's honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. It keeps coming back to that. I knew I had to get honest. For once in my life, I had to get honest, man, about who Billy was, you know? And that if I just tried a little bit of that honesty for once in my life, maybe what you said, that was indispensable, a word that I couldn't spell and didn't know what it meant. But I knew it was important. Indispensable. It's like these three things are indispensable. I'm like, that must be important, man. That must be something. And so I just started getting honest, man. And I honestly did not know how to live, did not know how to stop destroying myself, did not know how to not use drugs, did not know how to use them successfully. I did not know how to do any of these things. And so I made that honest admission when I got here that I needed help. That I needed help big time. And it wasn't anymore about if you didn't have accesses and you didn't shoot dope in bandit buildings, you couldn't tell me nothing. That was a mentality that I had for so many years that kept me out of here. Why it kept me out of here? Because it was like, N.A., you weak-ass people, man. How the hell am I going to some damn N.A. and sit around and say, boy, I wish I could get high, don't you, John? Yeah. I wish I could get high, George. Hey, Bill, don't you wish you could get high? Yeah. And it's like, to me, that was like total failure. Because I come up from a mentality, too, of a lot of people that you've probably heard share in these rooms, and I've heard them, too, share, but that was my experience where you just don't give up. If you gave up, that showed that you were weak, that it was a sign of you being, somehow less than. And so I stayed out of here because I thought you people were like, couldn't handle it kind of thing, and God knows I didn't want you to say I couldn't handle it. Please don't. Because anytime somebody said you can't handle it, Billy, I would go out and put that much more paint on my ass just to prove to you I can handle it. Somehow, it was important for me. The view that you had of me, that was more important than any I had for myself. I never really had one of myself. It was real important that you guys told me who I was. Y'all picked my ball teams. You like Washington? I like Washington. You like Dallas? I like Dallas. You like the Redskins? Yeah, I like the Redskins. Wait, I don't like them. Them shoes look like shit, man. I would throw them away. But what are they wearing? They're wearing these. Okay, and I put them on. Hey, you like these shoes? Yeah. It was just so important for me to be okay with everybody else that somewhere along the line, man, I never developed a relationship with me, ever. And I was a little fat kid sitting in the corner alley shoving Mary Janes in my face, telling somebody I ain't got none. Hiding them. I mean, I can see my self-centeredness and my obsessive behavior long before I put a drug in me. I can see all that about Billy. I was a thief long before I used. See, when I had 2 years clean and a police come to my house and knocked on the door and was ready to take me to jail for something I had did and was dead up doing for stealing, and I used to tell everybody, well, I'm only stealing this shit because I got to have it. That's what I used to justify all my stealing with. If it wasn't for me having to have this blast, see, I wouldn't be doing this. 2 years clean, I ain't had a blast in 2 years, and I'm ready to go to jail because I wanted what I wanted. And I still stole. And it wasn't to be justified anymore because I ain't shot no dough for 2 years. What was that about? It was about Billy wanting what he wants when he wants it, and I like something for nothing. So I had to face that kind of stuff. I like getting, still today I like getting something for nothing. I ain't lost that. I like getting something. When I go in 7-Elevens, I got to do this in my area. I can't have that woman turn her back with them mouth sprays standing there, and I don't even want the damn thing. But for some reason, it's in my pocket. 5 years clean. I got to keep them in my pocket because I know that Billy has major problems functioning in the world and the way so-called normal people function in the world. I got major problems with that. Why? Because I want something for nothing. It's something about getting over. I like getting over. I don't always practice that, and I've gotten a lot better. But it's still something in me, but it just likes getting something for nothing, you know. And so I've just basically let the miracle happen by showing up, getting honest. The willingness that I had was born of pain. You know, it wasn't any fun anymore when I got here. I wasn't still partying. Party word was long gone. You know, it was about using just to walk out of the house and face people. You know, just to somehow get that crazy thought out of my head of wanting to kill myself kind of thing, or that life wasn't even worth living unless I had something in me to just make me okay. So it was not about getting high and partying and enjoying it anymore. That was long gone, you know. And so the pain of all that, you know, translated into when I got here, I was willing. And my willingness was born of pain. After 5.5 months in this program in 1990, I made a pact with God, by the way. And I still don't know who God is. But I do know that there's a loving God. I've seen the third step talking about just that he be loving and caring. And I early, from the first couple days that I knew I was going to try this way of life, it was like, okay, God, whoever you are, didn't put a face or a name, if you'll just give me this program that I see some people have in here, and I'm not talking about just not using, because I was in the penitentiary clean for years. I've been clean before. I'm talking about the light in some eyes I've seen around here. I'm talking about that quality that I was attracted to in people that I had not seen anywhere. God, if you'll give me that, if somehow I can have that for me, I will do anything in giving it to somebody else. I'll go to any lengths to do that. First give it to me, and then give me the power to give it to somebody else. Give me the willingness, give me the desire to give it to somebody else. And so I began that whole prayer process like that, and I went after getting it for myself. And that's when people started coming into my life, and people started giving me suggestions. Well, the year suggestion for relationship thing, I was like the kind of guy that took them all to the extreme. 90 meetings in 90 days. I did a couple hundred in 90 days, okay? They had nothing else to do anyway. I was a homeless bum. I was just laying around the Salvation Army. That's all I would have did with the rest of the guys, is shoot pool and play volleyball or whatever. But I wanted to, like, they said another thing they told me early on was chase it like you chased getting and using. And I sort of used that same obsession into getting this thing called recovery. And when I began that process, I was taking the suggestions to the extreme. I got a home group, 4 or 5 of them, and supported them. I got a sponsor right away, immediately, right away. I got a basic text. The first meeting was started eating it, reading it, filling my head up with it, because I wasn't just a little bit sick. I knew I was in bad shape. And I had had so many failures behind me before that I was so scared to death that I was going to fail again, that it wasn't going to be this program didn't work because I didn't give it my best shot. I wasn't going to be coming around here saying, well, it don't work. And they said, well, what did you do? How did you apply the program? I said, well, I went once a week. I got a temporary sponsor, never called him. You know, I didn't get phone numbers. I got phone numbers, but I never used them. If this program wasn't going to work, it was going to be, I'm going to give it a shot, and if it don't, then I can tell y'all to kiss my ass because it don't work. But if it does work, and this is what I got to do to get it, then I'm willing to do that. So I followed every suggestion possible. So at 5.5 months, a woman comes up to me. No sex for 5.5 months by choice. The last 3 years of my using wasn't the best sex anyway. I don't know about your stories, but seriously, I was hitting girls every place you could think about. I was the doctor in my neighborhood, and I was hitting girls every place you could think about hitting them, and they thought I was gay because it wasn't nothing. Hey, waste this good high on sex? You out of your mind. We got enough money to go again? To the man, I mean, Ain't no, they thought, he must be gay. I mean, I'm all naked in front of him trying to get a hit, and he's like, yeah, just as business and matter of fact as can be. I ain't got no kind of, whatever. Because what I'm saying is that sex was just like, sweat too much, take too much out of me, and I need another shot when I'm done. So it was like, no sir. So what I'm saying is that now all of a sudden 5.5 months clean, 4 or 5 months clean, I'm taking a shower in the Salvation Army, soap all over me. I'm like, what the hell's that? Where is that coming from? All of a sudden it's like the resurrection of life. I ain't seen that thing for years. The way it was looking, I'm like, jeez, what happened here? So when I tell my sponsor about this whole deal, because I said, look, I ain't gay, but I ain't had no sex for years, by choice. And my sponsor said, well, what you had going on in that shower? Yeah. He said, well, you're responsible for your recovery, and you're responsible for that, too. He said, so, take your responsibility seriously now. Don't get yourself all screwed up, because you'll obsess on something else in a minute. And so a woman come up to me at 5.5 months clean. And like I said, I had told God early on, if you'll give me this program, if you just give me what these people have in their eyes, if I can have whatever it is, I didn't know what it was, but it was something. And I don't have to describe it to you. If you know what I'm talking about, you do. If you don't, you don't. It's that light. It's something that I don't have to describe. It's something around here, man, that's going on in the eyes of people and in the lives of people that if you don't know what it is, I don't know what to tell you. But if you know what it is, you know what I mean. And so I had said to God, I said, look, I'll do anything. So the suggestions started coming, and I started following. No women, no relationship first year. That was one of the suggestions. I don't know where it ever came from. I looked through the literature. I was trying, please let me prove this wrong. I was searching like a son bitch. So my sponsor did put me right. He said, ain't no necessarily written rule or that or anything, but we're just saying, like, maybe you need to keep an eye on Billy for a while, because if you get into her, you'll now be all off into fixing her and straightening her up and doing all this social work on her when you need to look at yourself. And we just don't want anything to take you away from you looking at you for a while. So, he didn't say there was no rule or nothing, but I was a little scared about that. The woman who I eventually married comes up to me after a meeting. In fact, she was driving me home. A good friend of mine. I'd seen this woman at hundreds of meetings like I had been to hundreds of meetings. And she was young in recovery, too. And I admired seeing her as much as I was there, she was there. So I'm like, damn, somebody else just as hungry, too. And I like that kind of hunger. Just like coming up here, all the fellas read the literature. Every piece of literature was read by the people come up with me, and we all planned this. When I was asked to do this, it was an exciting thing for us. A month ago, man, we were all planning this and pitching our money together. And this became a real journey, man, like a big deal for us. I'm just sorry they didn't get to read on the tape, because they were really hoping that everybody could be on the tape for each other, but we don't read the literature on the tape. And but that kind of camaraderie, was going on. Well, my wife, I had that camaraderie with that woman in the rooms. There was nothing there for me to go after my wife, and she knows that. Just like she wasn't attracted to me for any physical endowments or what's that guy's name, Salome kind of looks. I was an old guy to her that, like, wasn't her cup of tea if she would have wanted to choose somebody, you see what I'm saying? But we got some kind of a connection about seeing each other in this program. As hungry as we were, there was some kind of a bond going on from one addict to another there, and we became friends. And I had never had a relationship with a woman that started that way. All mine started in the bedroom, and then we tried to work from there, and it just seemed like it didn't ever finalize, And so this was all new to me. But I was scared when she said to me that day in the car, she said, I've got feelings for you, Billy, that are beyond NA feelings. Oh, shit. I said, I'm going to meetings, got a sponsor, reading the basic text, praying, all involved, and here you come, Delilah. I done read that Samson and Delilah story, right? This is where I'm going back to using. I know it's something going to get me, see? Because I'm going along doing everything and getting the rewards. Because I've been a happy, joyous, and free addict since the day that the obsession left. And I took my wife to prison 6-hour drive from my house, dropped her off, and went back home. And ain't had her in my life for 3 years. I'm here to tell you I'm still a happy, joyous, and free addict because the obsession is gone. I'm talking about that shit that sits there. If you know what I mean on that too, you know what I mean. If you don't, you don't. That's it. I ain't trying to explain. It's there. Well, that was gone. And you talk about a freedom, boy. And so I was scared, man, when she said that. But I knew that I had feelings too, but I just didn't know. And I took it to the God I understand. I took it to my sponsor and talked honestly. For the first time, I'm talking honestly to somebody. It's no more bullshit. It's no more front or games. It's like, yeah, I want a woman in my life. Definitely do. I like to have somebody. And I like her. And I hear her sharing about going to jail. She may go to jail. She may not. And I was confused. I just didn't. And that's what I admitted all that. I could probably jump into that woman, man, and start building a relationship. And what you said to me might happen right away. I might focus everything on her. Because I've done that before whenever I've gotten in a relationship. Now I want to know who you're talking to, where you're going, all these things that all of a sudden come up because of my little insecurity and my inability to have a healthy relationship. I ruined every one I eventually got into. It was always the thought, if I could just have her, if she could just be in my life. Once I got her in, boy, it was like, woo. You know, we were both ruined. You know, so I was scared a little bit too, but there was just something okay about it too. Because my sponsor said, she shows up a heck of a lot. And I said, yes, she does. He said, she seems to share pretty honestly a lot. And I said, yeah, I listen to her too. I think she shares pretty honestly. And he said, well, I don't know, man. He said, I would just suggest you take it slow. And if you see yourself getting off of your program in any which way, then we need to talk right away. Because we don't want you getting too far sliding in some shit that you're going to, like, be all screwed up about. So we entered into the relationship. That 18 months clean, we got married. We had an NA wedding, and every meeting in the West Side we were announcing, oh, me and Karen's getting married, and at the end of the meeting announcements, anybody wants to come, there's the directions. We had little flyers. Just show up. Bring a dish, if you will. We didn't have shit. Bring a dish, and you know what, man? At 18 months clean, we had a couple hundred people in this church from NA, couple hundred that came to that wedding, and they brought things, and I'll tell you what, we had the most great smorgasbord of food and dips and chips and sodas and everything. It was just such a great affair, man. And I was like ready to say, let's get the readings. We were ready to have a meeting, right? I'm standing in my tux, she in her gown and all, and it's like, shit on the wedding ceremony, let's have a meeting. You know, we were just ready to really go for it. And it was just wonderful, that kind of we were starting on a brand new path of life. This woman in a recovery process, me in a recovery process. And we were just like, man, this is where it's at, you know? We're free from active addiction. She's got H&I commitments. She's involved in the program. I got H&I commitments. I got people in my life. We're constantly working on. In the morning, it was nothing from, see, me and my wife reading the basic text, drinking coffee. I don't know what kind of generation of recovering addicts in this program that there ever were before, but I know that this was just some things that we did. We got up and did that. And lots of people used to say to us, well, you're a little obsessive, ain't you? I mean, ain't you got a life? I mean, them kind of things. It's like, hey, you know, this is our life. And without this information, without this unity, without practicing these things in our relationship, as well as our affairs, and that's one of our affairs, our relationship, we'll probably destroy each other. So, you know, at 18 months we were married. At 2.5 years is when I took her to that federal prison and dropped her off. And I got the 2 kids. Tell me God ain't got a sense of humor. Let the miracle happen. I spent 17 years of my life in the Maryland prison system. I did, personally. I can function in that shit. Just like today, I ain't changed so much. I could go to your missions up here in one of your towns and sleep right next to a guy right now tonight who is strung out. I don't have to have a bed in one of these motels. I ain't changed so much that I can't do that. So what I'm saying is, what I can't do, live life and take care of 2 kids and pay bills and pay gas and electric and wash them and feed them and wash their clothes and fold them. Shit. See, God got a sense of humor. Because this woman who never ever experienced a traffic ticket gets 7 years, goes to jail, is devastated. I drop her off and come back and face life. I'm devastated. It's a God like, let me do that and she can go ahead and do this. Don't they? I mean, if you're so smart, why are you so stupid? I can do that. I mean, just go ahead. Commissary and Little Debbie's and movies and weightlifting. I'll knock this 7 years down like that. I'll read a lot. You know, I'll get healthy. Guy said, nah, your business is out here, buddy. You're going to learn about living. I got more respect today for single mothers than I ever had in my life. I never knew what a single mother faced. How in the hell did you guys do it? I mean, it's a never-ending thing. The concern for raising kids alone. And then to get the money to pay the bills. Also, you got to have that too, along with all the helping with homework. You know, and just talking and encouraging and comforting them because of mom. Just not so good at that. Because when I first came home from prison and I went up in my bedroom, I stayed 5 days. My phone rang off the hook. I had not been with my wife, man, and my wife was in prison, and I had these 2 kids with me, and I was, like, devastated. My phone was ringing off the hook saying, Billy, can we help you? How you doing? And I wouldn't answer it. I listened to the answer machine when I was laying there, but you know what? It wasn't none of y'all could help me. Just like when I got here, none of y'all could help me. I had to ask whoever God was. Then God used you people. Bottom line, he used you. But I wouldn't let you get near me until I cried on my knees to God like, I don't want to lose again. I lost so much in the past, I don't want to lose again. And so the prayer to God for that help, all of a sudden, a loving hand come out from a guy who I wouldn't even have fucked with in life. I consider him an asshole. When I came up, I would keep him total far away from me by saying, you're a jerk. I don't let jerks help me. Disease had me so clogged up with separation and ignorance and social kind of things that I wouldn't even let a man who wanted to help me because the way he dressed. I was ready to die with this ignorance. And the same way when my wife went to jail and I came home, and my wife don't really know the depths of that. She'll know now from hearing this tape, but I'll tell you what. The kids were coming up to me, and they stayed in the bed with me for 5 days. Mr. Bill, Mr. Bill. And I was like, get away from me. How am I going to comfort you in your pain, a 9-year-old, a 13-year-old, when I can't even find comfort in my own pain? And that's what I told them kids. That's what I told them. Go out and play. Get away from me. All this enormity's finally come down on me. 7 years. I can't do this for 7. No way. No way. I wanted the wife with the house and the car and the job and all the good things and help me. All of a sudden, I'm sitting here with a wife in jail and her kids to boot. That wasn't my plan. That wasn't the kind of thing I had in mind when I'm talking relationship. But they say when you ask for something, you better watch what you ask for. And you know what? 5th day, I haven't eaten peanut butter sandwich for 5 days. We would go down every couple hours. We would get 2 or 3 peanut butter sandwiches up in us. A couple of guys that finally knew when we come out of it said, Billy, I don't know if the prayer you prayed got you up out of that room with them damn peanut butter sandwiches for 5 days got you up out of that room. Because the 5th day, it was about 5 days and nights of isolation. The people knocked on my door. I wouldn't answer it. Would not let them near me. I was at that point where I was like, God, you're going to have to do something. You're going to have to somehow, man, do something with me because I can't do nothing. And until I feel that you're doing something, I'm just going to sit still. And I'm not going to move. Because I was just devastated. Talking about devastation, like that desperation that brought me in here from using, I was desperate again. At 2.5 years clean with so-called good life. And, but you know what didn't come through my mind? Use. That's what I'm saying. I'm happy, joyous, and free. Use didn't come in my head. What came in my head was things like, you can't do this. You're a jailhouse bum. You're not capable of doing this. You know how much you needed your wife? Now look at you. You thought you were all that in recovery. Now look at you. How you going to do it financially, you bum? You know your wife was a cosmetologist. She brought the money. You're a bum. But I made a lot of money in that 2.5 years. See, but I wasn't hearing at the time. I was just hearing all the negatives the disease was throwing my way to keep me on that bed. 5th day, I went downstairs, got on my knees. I said, God, again, just like I did in detox, whoever you are, help me. Give me some hope. Help me help these kids, because they're crying. I'm crying. I hate them being around me because the pain is in front of my face with them. I can't be there for them. I hate myself for not being able to go, come on, kids, it'll be all right, because it was like, it ain't all right. This ain't what I looked for. This ain't what I had planned, so it wasn't all right. And you're talking about a mess in a bedroom, man. In Baltimore City, sitting up there with a guy that just don't know anything about anything. And that same guy, when I got up off my knees from that kitchen floor, there was just this idea in my head, go up stairs, wake the kids up, give them some breakfast, take them up the park, take the dog, because the dog was in the bed with us too, the 5 days. He went out to pee and come back. Take the dog, go up the park, let them kids run, sit down, and everything's going to be okay. I don't know where that came from. I went up, said, come on, you guys, let's go. Get up. And they were like, my wife don't even know. They were like, Mr. Bill. And they started hugging me. And I didn't feel inadequate anymore. I got a strength. I got some kind of a strength that was beyond me. And we walked downstairs. They went up the park. They started playing. The boy's on the honor roll today. The 9-year-old, you know. The 13-year-old just came back from Tennessee, and she's doing well. She's going to pass again this year. And for the past 3 years, we've been met at the level of our need. I went to visit my wife every month since she's been there, and have not failed to get there. Have always had the money in order to get up there and back. So the miracle was that once the desire to use left, first miracle, there was provisions to learn how to live brought into my life from basically people in the program just showing me and believing in me and helping me to just put one foot in front of the other and believe in myself that I am capable of doing that. That I'm not a homeless bum anymore. That I'm not in prison anymore just worrying about a pack of cigarettes. That I'm worrying about health insurance for these kids. That I'm worrying about hope for them. That I'm telling them, your mother's not a bad person. Your mother was sick. And that you don't need to feel ashamed in school. My 13-year-old, she made the mistake of telling some kids out there in the first school, and believe me, they wore out about that. Anytime there was any problem between siblings, it was always your mother's of this and that in jail, and she carried that a lot. And but she's been around this. Them kids been to thousands of meetings too. Believe me, them kids been to probably a lot more meetings than you can even think about. I took them plenty of meetings. And when me and my wife were together, it was 2.5 years, they went to lots of NA functions and conventions down Ocean City and all. They were exposed to this. And so, you know, the 13-year-old knows that them people can say that all they want, that her mother's not a bad person. that her mother made some mistakes, and that her mother was powerless. And her mother is like, today, a very productive member of society. That her mother's going to college and got all these credits in there, then she's got a goal to be with teenagers when she gets out and set up some kind of a help for teenagers. She admires her mother. And nobody can tell her your mother's this and that anymore, because she knows the struggles that her mother went through to get where she's at. And when I told you I wouldn't come here because I thought you people were weak, boy, what a mess that was. Because I know the strength that you have to have in this program to practice these principles in your affairs. And that is not from a weak person at all. That's from a strong person, boy. You have to be really strong to not act out on the things that we want to act out on to fulfill us right away, and to make a decision to go another way. I know the strength that's involved in all that, to try to be there for somebody when you don't feel like being there for anybody. When sometimes you just want time for yourself, and somebody calls you and says, I'm hurting, and you're tempted to keep hitting that channel selector, but you say, where are you at? Let's go to a meeting. I know that kind of strength, and that strength is just not found. I haven't found it anywhere but right here in Narcotics Anonymous. So my admiration for my fellow addicts and the people in these rooms that I meet and that I see, it's like I hold you in esteem, because I know we're in this struggle together, and I admire the kind of strength that we get from each other. You know, there's nothing weak about a recovering addict at all. Not at all. It's weak to just use. That's the weak move, to just keep on doing what we were doing. So the miracle that we're talking about is basically a bum that lived in the missions, lived in abandoned houses, ate in soup kitchens, who can come into this program, plug into the program, get a life, get a wife, lose a wife to prison for 3 years, and still function, and have people in my life go to school, work at a treatment center where I work now as an addictions counselor, and get money for that, work another 40-hour-a-week job as a counselor, a support counselor, and run a halfway house that me and a sponsee just bought, and 9 other recovering addicts are living there, and 2 of them are at this convention with us, and God can just do all that. I think when the main speaker was talking that he had a relationship with NA, and I can relate to that so much from my gut. My wife says, Billy, on the phone, she said, God, you chaired 19 meetings last month. Do you think that's a bit obsessive? I said, Karen, when God calls, when NA calls, man, I'm going to show up. And I didn't miss a day of work chairing the 19 meetings. The kids didn't lack a meal. The house wasn't dirty. It was like somehow by putting that first, everything else worked out with 19 meetings in a month. The month before was 15. Lots of people in my area call me a lot. They call me a lot because they know I'm not going to sit in no pity about my life. That I'm going to tell somebody I'm glad to be clean. I'm glad not to be in a penitentiary today. I'm glad not to be sitting in an abandoned house with a goddamn craving and dirty tools all around and a fucking hatred in my face and my teeth gritting. I'm glad to be away from that. Happy. What about my life? Don't feel sorry for me because my wife's in jail. That's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for this bum who was a nobody to count. When I show up at that fence, he smiles. Again, 3 years later, you're still there. Guess what? I found out through these steps that I am a faithful person. I found out through these steps I can be depended upon. I used to think I was a no-good piece of shit who couldn't be depended upon for nothing. But this new way of life has told me I'm a sensitive, loving, caring man. I'm a loyal individual. I know all that today. And if somebody's saying, well, I feel sorry, don't feel sorry for me. It's not about sympathy. My wife is carrying a message in there. We got invited to Massachusetts. We don't know what's going to happen yet. The guy was telling me first, it was like, well, we got a workshop for this, maybe that. We don't know which one we're going to ask you to do, but this and that. And it's all up in the air. But you know what? Check this out, how God meets you at the level of your need, y'all. The miracle. Invited to Massachusetts to speak up there. My wife sponsors a woman in prison. Left and went home. Where's she live at? Who knew that, girl? Massachusetts. Would she say how far she lived from the convention? A few minutes. Where'd she say we could all stay when we come up for nothing? Her house. Tell me I don't see a plan unfolding when I get the hell out of the way. When I get out of the way, I don't see a bigger picture here in that pain. And them meetings in that prison up there, 100 and some women. 100 and some women in a little federal prison ain't getting nothing from the meeting as far as parole sign and all. They ain't got parole. You do it all in the federal prisons. You don't get no extra benefits whatsoever by showing up for any support groups in them federal prisons now. Why is it so packed and so crowded? Because God is working through a life of an individual who's honestly saying, and ain't nothing for my wife to say, I was so empty. Me as a woman, that if the man wanted to leave me, I'd beg him to stay and let him beat me and let him abuse me and whatever he had to do just to have him. I was so empty, I'd do that. And other women, well, not today. I don't have to settle for that today. I don't have to be lonely because I'm alone. All these truths and all this information in NA that let her know you are sufficient in and of yourself. You don't need to have somebody make you okay, kind of thing, and put up with the abuse and you piece of shit and the physical abuse just to say, I've got somebody. How empty. Because my wife will do that in a meeting. My wife will talk about being a prostitute and take the shame away from other women who feel that or in that meeting. She will admit that she went to those lengths to get what she had to have. Which makes it okay for you to say it now. Because now I've said it. God's just working tremendously in those meetings. A friend of mine's getting ready to go up and chair it soon. He'll know. Anybody I've taken up there, since he's been there to chair the meeting, anybody, I can't go in. Because I'm a spouse. I just take them up, drop them off, wait outside for an hour and a half, and they come out, and everyone that comes out's glowing. Boy, there's something going on in there, Billy. Every one of them, all the chair people that come out said, there's something special going on in that meeting, man. I don't know what it is. There's a hunger, and there's some kind of an atmosphere that just goes on in there. And now they're all pumped and they're all high and shit. And we take the ride home 6 hours back to Baltimore. And as we're riding back, they're just telling me about it. And I get all thing I need through all that. It's like, man, you know, it just turns out to be such a... When I look at the full picture, because I don't know who's behind that door. See, that's the only part I get is here. But if I trust in a God, if I've made a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of that God, in the third step, if I've done that, I don't know who's behind the door right there, but I know if I've turned my will and my life over to care, in God's care, I can open that door and whatever comes through, I ain't got to worry about it crushing me. Because I didn't come here to get crushed. I didn't come here to get humiliated. I came here to get life, and I came here to share and give life. It's just, the miracle has happened all over the place. The miracle of my little boy being on the honor roll. Here's a boy with his mother in prison. Ain't seen him. The boy's 9 years old now. Ain't seen him in 3 years in the sense of a mother hugging him. And ain't had that kind. It's sad because you know what? He's so attached to his teacher. This boy is so attached. It scared me a little bit because Miss Reed is so important to him. And I can see where I don't have that. I give him everything else I can possibly give him. But that motherly kind of stuff, he is so... Miss Reed is everything. When he comes home from school, Mr. Bill, Miss Reed... And I'm all excited for him, but I'm also sad because Mom should be. You know, and Karen's sad because Miss Reed wanted to take him home, and God just put Miss Reed in our lives, though. You know what I mean? It just like, and we need to know that although she's not there, God's still providing what He needs. Karen just needs to keep doing what she's doing. She just needs to keep doing what she's doing and get this thing over a day at a time. And when she comes home, we just need to move on in this recovery road together again, and to just keep being available. Just keep showing up for the newcomer. Just keep being there, and then share with that person how we went through some struggles and how life didn't visit us with a bowl of cherries. But you know what? Somehow, a day at a time, we didn't use through it. We didn't destroy ourselves through it, and we got through it with a faith that just carried us. With the miracles, one after another miracle, one after another. And my wife, when I was getting ready to come up here, she was crying on the phone. My wife's doing a hard time, man. A hard bit. It's been 3 years and she's still going to levels of acceptance. I'm like, Karen, what's up? It's over. We're there. You got 3 more years to go. I'm in for the long haul. You got 3 behind you. What's wrong today? And it's like, Billy, I can't do it anymore. I'm like, you gotta do it. What do you mean you can't do it? What are you gonna do? Gotta do it. And that's the kind of conversations we have when she's at that point. I don't know what the fuck to say, really. All I know is that I gotta get myself tough out here about the way life hits my face, and she gotta get tough in there. Is the cup half full or half empty? That's the terminology you hear a lot. 3 years in, 3 years to go. Half full or half empty? Do I have 3 to go, or do I have 3 behind me? I like to look at it, you got half this thing done. Half of it's behind you, and you're still alive. We're talking about a person, the miracle happening, that was going to kill herself a week that she was there. I was back and forth a lot with no money. After the 5 days, it was a lot of going back and forth that first month because my wife was so devastated with this whole situation. She was going to take her life at 2.5 years clean because she felt like God abandoned her. God walked away from her and said, and other people were saying, my husband went to court, he got off. And Karen was saying, great, it's wonderful. My wife went to court, she got off. And Karen was saying, wonderful. Where's God? Is what she was saying. Till her faith began to grow and the miracles started happening. The kids would have been in foster care. I showed up. We got married. I got custody of the kids. She started looking at some of the facts beyond the facts. There was nobody in this woman's life. She got a husband now who she's been with for 2.5 years, who's built a relationship with these kids that when she left, they're going to be okay. That worry's gone. Visit every month. Support financially, help. She started looking at all these things and began to see that God may have not answered that prayer the way we hoped he would answer it. But he did answer it. And he's still answering it. And sometimes I think God's answers are a process. That they're not just that they're a process too. Because our relationship, and I mean to tell you this, the miracle of this, I have never had such a healthy relationship in my life. I have never admired a woman as much as I do this woman. Because of all this pain and this valley we've been in, we have grown closer than anybody in my life that I've ever had a relationship with. And there is admiration, respect, all kinds of feelings of like, I admire what you're doing. You could get bitter and say, fuck NA, fuck the meetings, fuck all this, but you're willing to show up. Now there are 3 meetings a week in the jail. Not just 1. Now there are 3. And other women are taking secretary's positions and she don't have to run the whole show because she wanted to say, this is how NA works. You get involved. It's not Karen. I'm not the one that runs this. This is how I do it, and you take the other meeting. One's a step meeting. I mean, just beginning to get what? The message into that prison. And my wife always said she had a problem getting with the women. And now we'll laugh about that when we're together up there. And she named the meeting, Get With the Women. That's the name of the meeting. It's the biggest meeting on the schedule in that area. I don't know if anybody's been to West Virginia, but I have. And it took me hours to find an NA meeting to ask them would they go and help me get a meeting in this prison because they wouldn't deal with me, the staff, the administration. So I had to go through the mountains with a little schedule, the Mountaineer area, with about 6 or 8 meetings for the whole week, 100 miles apart. And you talk, man, I ain't grateful for the Free State region where I'm from. 300 and some odd meetings a week at any given time. Whew. That meeting turned out to be the biggest meeting in that area right now. So, I mean, God somehow just knew there was a need there. And this girl was going anyway. Am I saying God sent her there? No, I'm not. I'm saying that's a result of the criminal laws that we have. Am I saying God's bringing about some miracles, letting them happen all over the place as a result of her being there and me being here? Yes, I am. I've just given you out numerous miracles that have happened since I come into this program, grabbed the program, and I'm living the program on a daily basis. And my wife, where she's at, living on a daily basis. Miracle after miracle. Miracle after miracle. And all I'm doing is letting it happen. I'm just showing up for life. I get up in the morning and ask that 3rd step prayer. Take my will in my life. Guide me in my recovery. Show me how to live. It's just that simple. When I get out of the way, things are okay and they happen. I've got 5 guys living with me in my house. And they help me tremendously. Without them, I don't know what I would do. I have no idea what I would do without these guys. They think I got so much for them. They don't know what they got for me. They have no idea when I come in and I'm hurting from a visit, because every time I come back, it's another leaving and separation again, and I'm not feeling so okay and together, and I come home and see a couple of them guys and they smile. They don't know what that does for me. And see, I'm too much of a kind of tough guy to let them know. So I'm afraid to cry and just say, man, thanks a lot for being here for me, because I don't want to show people that I got that in me. Now, I want to still put that mask on and just walk in, everything's all right. And I guess after this tape, if they ever buy it and hear it, they'll probably know that, so I've exposed that crap today. Now I have to live up to that. But anyway, man, I can't say enough for the miracles that have happened. I hope I've stuck to the topic, and I hope I've given a message of hope. Because the bottom line is, it ain't about a lot of people, but it's about a lot of honesty. I know that to be true today. I'll do what I just did right here in front of 3 people in a prison. I've done it before. I want to close with this, and that is something I've shared since it's happened. And every time I share it, people identify. And the reason I do is because most people have said to me they've used it at some time throughout their recovery when they've been tempted. We started some meetings in a drug-infested area down there where I live, and I live right there. We're in the hood where everything's going on. I can walk out the door and cop anything I want within 25 yards of me. There are people, 3 guys from the home groups that we go to, and the people here know it, died. In the past 2 weeks, 3 of them overdosed in the past couple weeks. 2 weeks, 3 guys dead. Just in this last week before we come up here. So what I'm saying, it's hot, and it's going on, and I ain't not copping because I ain't got the money. I ain't not copping because I don't know where to cop. I'm making a choice to say, nah. It ain't because I don't know where. Nah, not today. I know the rest of the story, so nah. So we started some meetings right in the midst of this. Everybody from out of the area that never worked, ain't nobody going to support that meeting. Ain't nobody coming down. They ain't bringing their cars down there. They'll rob them. Probably would. You know, they're about all that too. But you know what? Don't give a shit if anybody supports it or not. There's a need right here, and these people ain't walking 2 blocks to go to no damn NA meeting. They'll never go. If it don't set right here, they ain't even going to grab it. So there was this desire to do it. So we started the meetings. Me and my wife, and a friend of mine named Buddy, and Mike was the coffee maker. And we got a coffee pot, and we set them up. And the one meeting's been going on for nearly 4 years now. 50-some people coming there every meeting. There's a meeting every day of the week in that building, every day. Twice on Sunday. Each one of them is so packed, you can hardly get it. Everybody I sponsor has involvement somewhere or another in them meetings. They're either secretaries or whatever. They're involved. I won't sponsor somebody who won't get involved. Won't do it. If you're not ready to get involved with me, you get another sponsor. I won't do it. So what I'm saying is we start them meetings. The street's about from here to this man. That's how big. It's enough for a car to get down. There's an abandoned building next to it that's a shooting gallery. That's what they're doing up in the building. A lot of meetings going on. They running in and out. Okay? Doing what they're doing. So it's hot. I'm going to meet one day, and I'm walking in there. There's this guy, and my man knows him. There's this guy standing outside the meeting. He knows I've been clean for a number of years, and he looks at me as I'm starting to go in, and I look at him. He's got bandages wrapped around both hands, ace bandages, from abscesses. You know him too. Ace bands wrapped all around his hands so swelled up, look like boxing gloves from sticking needles somewhere and they won't work no more. He got flip-flops on in the winter because he can't get a 13 double E on his foot. That's how big this boy's feet are, and they look like I don't know what. It's sickening. He got a cane, and he like, I'm going to cop. I'm going to cop. And see, I know that kind of single-minded, obsessed state. I'm going to cop. I know that. And so I'm seeing him stand there, thinking like, when I get up, like, damn, man, he's coming to the meeting. Wow, you know what I mean? Because I had been talking to him periodically and all, and he knows what I'm about, and he sees it. Not from me talking. He said, Bill, he ain't shooting dope no more. He ain't going to jail. He ain't hanging on the corner. He ain't abscessed up. Damn. So he knows the deal. So I'm thinking maybe he's come to the meeting. I start going in the meeting, open the door, look over. And he said, it's Billy. I said, yeah. He said, I got a little bit of cocaine. So, and this is the way I am. This is a true story and what happened. If anybody knows me, they know what I'm talking about is true. If you don't know me, you have to take my word for it. I shut the door back because I don't want to interrupt the meeting. All right? Because I know what I'm going to do in a minute here. First off, I'm about to kick his motherfucking ass, number one. I shut the door. And I turn around to him. And I get about this close to his face. And I said, what? A little bit of cocaine? Are you out of your mind? I said, get the truck. Back it up. Get a garden hose for the water. Get a trash can for the cooker. Get 1,000 sets of tools and let's die. A little bit of cocaine. How dare you call me out here for a little bit of cocaine? That this far from the stage, right? As I'm doing this, a guy just copped and is walking behind. I know he copped because he's running like this. Right? I'm off now. I'm gone. So I turn on him. I say, hey! And we're like this far from each other. I said, can you do a little bit of cocaine? Right? The guy, he's just trying to get to the car. The car's down the street. They're looking out. And I'm gone now because that's the way I'm gone. I said, can anybody? And they're hawking it up down the street to get that nut in there. You know? Can anybody do a little bit of cocaine? Because I'm looking for a sponsor. Man, like, so the boy, he says, he looks over at me. He says, well, you fucking LA people crazy. I said, I'm crazy. You asking me for a little bit of cocaine to do, and I'm crazy. All this information I got in this program, and all these lies that I lived for so long, and how dare you call me out here for a little bit of cocaine? I know the truth today. Little bit of cocaine. How dare you? I mean, I lived that lie for so long. Little bit. Just a little bit. So a guy 2 weeks after I shared that at my home group when it happened, He was washing his car, vacuuming out. And what falls out from behind the seat, he's got 2 weeks clean, but a little bit of cocaine in a vial. He said he remembers hearing that little bit of cocaine. He took this son of a bitch, poured it out, and sucked it right up in the vacuum cleaner because he played the tape. How dare you insult me with a little bit of cocaine? You know, as if that lie's dead. That lie's gone. It's about living life today. It ain't about killing myself a little bit at a time. Anyway, if I've carried a message of hope today, I've done what I believe God, who brought me to this program and used you people to reveal himself to me, had me come up here for. If I didn't, shame on me. Shame on me. Because I got that attitude the main speaker had. I got a relationship with NA. And it's a very serious relationship. It's one that I owe a lot of allegiance to. And it's like the tag, I owe you NA. I owe you so much. And how do I pay NA? I pay by being there for somebody else. I pay by showing up. And I pay by keeping this enthusiasm and keeping this gift up foremost in front of my face. And I just pay back by being of service. Showing up, being available for God's use wherever he want to use me. And what a small price to pay. What a small price to pay for all the blessings, for all the lessons, for all the life-giving information that you people shared with me on how Billy can be okay with Billy. Because he never could. I was never okay with me. So I got a working knowledge of these steps, a God of my understanding, and relationships with you people that told me it was okay for me to be okay with me, that I didn't have to impress you, that I was okay in and of myself, and you let me know that. I just owe NA so much that I can't not show up. And with that, I want to thank Mike for giving me the plaque. I don't like what he did, though, and he knows I'll talk to him about it. When I have sponsees don't do some things, I will tell him. What I don't like what he did is this. I am not the best sponsor in NA. I don't want to set differences. In other words, I'm a good sponsor, I think, because I'm a good friend, and I do work through the steps, and I think I have a working knowledge of the 12, and I think that's too. But that makes, if I'm the best, that makes Charlie second best. You know what I mean? So it's the idea of, like, I hate to try to bring that in here that, well, Barry's the best sponsor. No, Rocky's the best. It's like, and I know people with pride say, well, if you don't think you got the best sponsor, you better. But for some reason, to me, that's like we're going to set up a structure now where who's the best and who ain't the best. I like to believe that I'm good for somebody because I love them, but I don't like the responsibility of being better than Charlie, because Charlie's a great sponsor too, and Bill's going to be a great sponsor. You know what I mean? And my sponsor would probably put a foot in my butt if I did that with him. The best sponsor, he said, wait a minute, ho. You know, don't put me there. So I love Mike for what he did, and I believe he's genuinely did that for me, and he's been there for me more than I've been there for him. So I guess that's the way it works. Rocky and I had a conversation about sponsorship in the hall a little while ago, and I'll tell you what, if you ain't into this program and you ain't trying to get deep about what all that means, you didn't need to talk with us. It wasn't superficial shit about nothing about that. It was about a heartfelt kind of relationship that when you do something that affects that, you hurt. And you're not real glad about what's going on now because of what you... So I'm saying if you ain't real serious about sponsorship, you need to hear that conversation. And we were talking about when you let somebody down, man. Whew, the pain of that. Thank you for inviting me and just thank everybody. Karen, I love you again, and everybody here loves you, and I don't know, I hope you've gotten a message of hope tonight, and I hope that somehow these next couple months of your being there will somehow just go a little bit more brighter, because you know that God didn't abandon us. He just gave us assignments. Where, if you want to serve in H&I, the hell would you be the best to serve? Right there. And you see, that's funny. And my wife will laugh at that too, because that's the kind of truth and honesty she has. But I know when I did an H&I and they put cuffs on me, see, I got an H&I before all my shit was cleared up. And I was playing this rep and all that shit going in, and I actually went out in cuffs because I wasn't cleared, and all of a sudden some records of my past come up. And I went to that jail and was waiting bail. I was saying, God, look, I want to carry the message, but bullshit on this. I ain't talking about being a cell buddy carrying the message. I'm talking about I want to leave and get that feeling they talk about around here in H&I, where it's a great feeling when you hear the door clicking behind you, and I'm hearing that sumbitch click in front of me. I said, God, wait a minute. Fortunately, it all cleared up. But I tell you what, and they said, well, Billy, what a better place to serve. I'm like, shit, I don't want to hear that. He tried to serve right next to this chump. I want to come in and see him and leave. I got a life today, you know. But anyway, I love you, Karen. I hope that made you smile and happy, and I love everyone here. Thank you very much.